So guys, let's just start with this because I had to say something about this because frankly, it was disgusting the way Cenk and Anna did this to Aaron Matei. And it's not even about Aaron Matei. It's about the fact that this is what this contingent of the left does. They focus on character assassinations, focus on ad hominems. They don't refute anything with evidence. They manipulate people's emotions and say, look at Aaron Matei. He doesn't care about little kids getting gassed by a brutal dictator. If you're a real leftist, you care about that. You're against genocide. What we were just talking about with George, it's so easy to manipulate progressives with, oh my God, this genocide is happening here. This genocide is happening there. Oh, this guy is a dictator, because they know, the establishment knows that these people are useful idiots because they a lot of them have good intentions. And they're like, oh, we're going to care about these people, but they don't do their fucking research. And they think they're revolutionaries, but they're regurgitating CIA talking points. Because at this point, it is a conspiracy. It is not a matter of opinion. It is not a matter of, oh, maybe, you know, Anna thinks this way based on this and Aaron thinks, no. Literally, the OPCW, journalists on the ground, witnesses, so many people have proven, people from the region, that the Syrian chemical attacks in 2014 were completely fabricated. It was all an act, and she is still, to this day, regurgitating these talking points using Bashar al-Assad as a brutal dictator. Now, not only is that irresponsible as a journalist, but it is also blatant, just false, like conspiracy theory. And of course, you know, they come after us saying, oh, you can't put this video, this is conspiracy, or you're spreading misinformation. Notice she'll be using those specific Rachel Maddow establishment words to discredit the work of somebody who's on the ground. Now, Aaron Matei's on the ground now, but Eva Bartlett and Vanessa Beeley were there as this was happening, especially Vanessa Beeley. She got hundreds of witnesses. I mean, at this point, she talked to so many people. I've read all of her work of that time. She's been smeared by so many people, the BBC included. And let's not forget that Anna Kasparian, of course, has she had a love fest for Madeleine Albright when she interviewed her. Yeah. And she's talking about brutal dictators. Are you kidding me? Do you know who Madeleine Albright is, Anna? Yeah. So let's go ahead and I'll read the tweet and we'll watch this, but go ahead and say.
No, I just want to say pay close attention to what Cenk says. I mean, Cenk says, you know what I'm saying? He even throws, I mean, it was like a triple whammy over here. Yeah. Not only do you have Anna saying all this bullshit, which not just these chemical attacks were debunked, but the two before them were debunked. All three of them were debunked. They've been doing this for how long? To manufacture consent, to stay in there and propagate the civil war, to fund jihadists over there. They use these things, and it just makes no sense that when somebody's winning a war that he would gas and attack his own people. That would actually bring in the community, the international community when they're already retreating. It makes no sense. And like I said, they've been debunked before. Even the first ones, all three have been debunked. People are still saying, "Oh no, it depends on which one you're referring to." No, all of them have been fucking debunked. Okay, and by the way, you should be caring about why those children were used, why these civilians were used as faces representing an event that didn't occur. This is what we do time in and time out. The people that were abused by actual radical jihadists that we called moderate rebels. Yeah. That's actually what happened. But no, we're not going to focus on that. We're going to say that it's Assad because we wanted to push regime change. Now, Aaron Matei said in this insane and libelous clip, and he's right, it's absolutely libelous, Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian say that I am, quote, paid by the Russians, Cenk, seems to be working for dictators, Anna, and deny chemical attacks on Syrian children, Anna. I don't care about their disdain for me, but I do care about being smeared. Exactly. The only state I've worked for is Qatar. As an Al Jazeera producer. I've never worked or have been paid by Russia or the Russians or any other state. By the way, when it comes to paid shilling for discussing people who killed children, Anna Kasparian doesn't need to look far. Okay, so let's go ahead and watch this video because I know a lot of you have seen it, but we're going to give our breakdown. Bonus episode.
They said Aaron Matei yelled at me. And so
Aaron Mate lied. Aaron Mate. Everyone cares what Aaron Mate has to say, right?
Okay.
The guy who denies that Syrian children were killed with chemical attacks. Yeah.
And
Fuck
gets
Aaron
paid
Mate.
by the-
Fuck you.
Gets
Anyway,
paid
let's
by the
move on.
Russians.
Let's end the freaking pod. I can't.
Okay, see, that's what happens.
I can't
You
stand.
just
I
saw
can't
it.
stand that guy, and I can't stand the very intentional disinformation they put out there in regard to disgusting dictators around the world. The very people they seem to be working for, to be quite honest with you. Let's move on.
All right, we're done.
Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
Fam, do I get my check from do I get my check from Putin and from Assad or something like that?
Do you see? Oh, he's paid by the Russians.
So bad.
These are attacks we get too. Oh, they're paid by this or that. We get, they're paid by the right. They're paid by the Russians. They're paid by, and Assad. And she says they're paid by dictators. So there you go. She's, doubling down on what Cenk said. Also, where is this coming from? Because Cenk started saying, hey, by the way, Aaron yelled at me. Okay, so you guys remember the tweet? I think we went over it. The tweet where Cenk made, I don't know if we did or not, where he was equating Israel-Palestine happening as a result, the genocide of Palestinians as a result of
Which God?
Which God these two groups
The
were
Bill
fighting
Maher
for,
excuse.
right? He was regurgitating a talking point that we've all been taught as kids.
Yes.
Oh, hey, they're just fighting over, these savages are just fighting over religion. It's all about religion. So Cenk Uygur, he literally went on and he said the same thing. He started saying they're fighting about gods. Now then later on he subtweeted because he was getting so much backlash. He subtweeted and said, of course that there are issues, geopolitical, blah, blah, blah. But the damage was done. He had made the stupid excuse. And Aaron Mate said something like, wow, this is like the dumbest tweet or the worst tweet ever or something. Yeah. So that's why Cenk is saying Aaron Mate yelled at me because everybody yelled at him. Yeah. Everybody
His
was
own
like, this
nephew
is ridiculous.
said some shit,
It's
Even Hassan Piker, when you go uncle, like, he gave him the uncle thing, like, yo, what the hell are you doing and stuff,
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So, like...
But Steve's tweet was the best, fam, right? He said that Bill Maher was so desperate for cash in 2007, he sold his shtick. Cenk Uygur was so desperate for attention in 2021 that he bought it. And really, to tell you the truth, it's just manufacturing this old thing that we are always taught. When we say, well, why are we there? Maybe we're causing the problems of them fighting. No, they've been fighting about religion for... thousands of years. It's all about them. Right. We have to go in there and do it. Otherwise, they'll kill each other.
It manufactures consent for, they're fighting over religion. We need to interfere or these, all this bullshit. And at the end of the day, we know history. 1948, the Nakba, Israel came in there, settlers pushed them out. Palestinians and Jewish people were living in harmony. Then England comes in and says, hey, you got to go. And then that's literally what happened. There's no denying that happened. That's history. That is in the books. Now, when Cenk does this, it just manufactures consent to say, oh, well, they're just dumb and like they're just fighting over religion.
It makes them look like lesser of people, right? Like they're dumb and we know better.
Like, we know better.
That's what this whole, we got to go do this.
But we know it's about control. We know it's about a military base that Israel is for us. We know it's about resources. We know it's about power. We know it's all about these things. So as for journalists to minimize that into something so trivial is really irresponsible. And so that's what Aaron Mate was responding to. That's what caused Cenk and Anna to have this outburst. And it's just funny because, he put this interview with Madeleine Albright and we've seen it many times before. We played it here on the show, how she just is so excited.
An honor to be with you.
Such an honor.
We have heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And is the price worth it?
I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it.
And instead, it was just a softball interview for which Kasparian, it appeared to have been a paid gig for a NATO conference.
Welcome to your MSC. I am delighted to be here and to have a conversation with the former U.S. Secretary of State under Bill Clinton, Madeleine Albright. And Madeleine Albright was actually the first female Secretary of State in the U.S. And it is a pleasure to have you here. It's an honor to have a conversation with you.
Well, I'm delighted to be interviewed by you. Thank you very much.
Of course. 2 peas in a pod.
Fam, you want to set a challenge? Anna, right here. Let's go. You want to debate Fiorella anytime? You can pick the moderator.
Two peas
we
in
have to
a
approve
pod,
them.
right? And then here's the thing, you know, I'm not against you interviewing warmongers. I'm against you, coddling them, like saying it. Oh, the first female warmonger we've had, like, and this is what we have to get out of all of this too. Why is Anna peddling these CIA, NATO-backed, mainstream propaganda narrative talking points? Why? If she is the independent, home of the progressives, representation left, why, Pasta?
I know.
Is she doing
Could
this?
it be the $25 million check from Jeffrey Katzenberg that have eventually just changed her whole language, her whole ideology, her whole mindset? I mean, could it be that? Because I was just going to say that Jeffrey Katzenberg got the best return on his money because these people in TYT, I just went after Idarola, whatever his name is, they've turned into such cucks of the deep state. It's so disgusting. They literally regurgitate, you know, the CIA talking points and even the language. She was the first female Secretary of State. Does that really matter when she sits there and says it's okay for sanctions to go on Iraq?
She's okay.
Killing 500,000 children.
Children.
But that's okay? Children. 500,000 children.
Yeah. I mean, and it was a very softball interview. I think that was from Max Blumenthal and Ben Norton. I think that was their Moderate Rebel show. But it was a very softball interview. I saw it. And if you're going to interview a warmonger, you have to push back. And just the other thing I was going to say, again, it's like we should be questioning why anyone saying otherwise at this point, right, about the Syrian chemical attacks is why they're spreading this propaganda against those doing actual journalism. Because Ermite, no matter how you feel about him, whether you agree with his politics or not, whether you like him or not, that's irrelevant. Because Ermite is on the ground doing work in Syria, doing what a real journalist would do. When has Anna Kasparian actually been on the ground? I've never seen her here. We live in the same city. I've never fucking seen her.
We're neighbors and we never see her.
Yeah. And so this is what Ermite was doing. He is, if you go to the Ermite tweet, the Palestinian refugee camp Yarmouk was destroyed in the brutal battle between Syria's government and foreign-backed militias that occupied it, including ISIS. U.S. sanctions on Syria prevents reconstruction. Again, we're still sanctioning Syria. No matter your views on the war, why block its survivors from rebuilding? And so then, let's just play the video.
This is a refugee camp for Palestinians founded to house those who were displaced from Palestine starting in 1948. And it's considered the heart of the Palestinian diaspora. Now, a large part of it is in ruins, like the ruins you see behind me. And that is because during the dirty war in Syria, this camp was occupied by various foreign militias, including ISIS, which led to a brutal siege and a brutal battle with the Syrian government and its allied militias. And now, this once bustling refugee camp, it has been emptied of so many residents, people who were already displaced from their homes in Palestine once, displaced once again. Now, in terms of whose side in this camp, I'm told that there are some residents who did take the side of the foreign militias. Others stood with the Syrian government. A lot of people I'm also told just were neutral and didn't want to be involved at all in the Syrian dirty war. But they weren't given the chance because their homes were occupied by militias and they were forced to live under their rule, including ISIS. And this led to the battle that has destroyed this camp now. And what I want to say about this destruction and about this war, no matter how you think this war began, no matter whose fault you think it is, I have my own views. I think this was an illegal, dirty war imposed on Syria by the outside. But regardless, even if you disagree with me, it's over now. And these homes are now destroyed. And the people who live here cannot come back because U.S. sanctions explicitly target Syria's reconstruction, make it impossible for this country to rebuild. It can't import the right material. And these sanctions are not hurting the Syrian government. There are no big Syrian government officials or leaders who don't have their homes right now or whose homes were destroyed. And if they were, I'm sure they found somewhere else to live. But millions of people can't come back because they cannot rebuild their own homes. And so what I would love to ask the people who support these sanctions and who drafted them, especially in government, is why is it that Syrians and Palestinians who were displaced from their homes in a US-backed dirty war don't have the right to come back and rebuild what the US and its allies helped destroy?
Exactly, and he's right. And it was a U.S.-backed dirty war.
It was.
It absolutely was.
Totally.
So I guess that really struck a chord with Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur because it destroys their NATO-backed narrative. These people are backed by NATO. Now, NATO is, we can call NATO like I would say it's the alliance, but it's really controlled by the CIA, by state agencies. We can talk about how they push for regime change via NGOs. And like, this is all nothing new to our audience, but to a lot of people, it still is. And that's the unfortunate part. That's why it's so bad that people who still believe and watch TYT, who think they're really the home of the progressives, they have 4 million subscribers now, but they used to have way more, guys. They used to not way more subscribers, but active subscribers. They used to have more people watch per video. Now they barely get like 3,000 views. So Jimmy Dore, of course, had something to say. He said, yes, it's insane, but smearing award-winning journalists is what Cenk Uygur and Ana Kasparian do. First, they smear Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. Now, after loudly cheering on war and bombing of Syria, TYT smears IF Stone award-winning journo Ermate as he's on the ground in Syria. Because when has Ana and Cenk ever been on the ground? And like anywhere, when do they even talk about foreign policy that's not like the same narrative you get from MSNBC? So what is the point of watching them if they're going to regurgitate the same talking points? And one of my favorite people, Roger Waters, right? He's Pink Floyd, huge fan. But he's also a huge Assange supporter. He also can tell when somebody's bullshitting. And somebody clipped this up from, I think it was Katie Halper's show. Let's hear what he has to say because I started laughing.
Wow. Yeah. What, do you want to comment?
Yeah, of course, sure.
What a fucking stupid fat prick. Just as long as they're throwing the F word around. I mean, and that woman, I haven't the faintest idea who she is, but she obviously can't read or write. All you have to do is a little bit of research to understand that all the research that has gone into the OPCW debacle and the huge story that is the OPCW, sorry, and the huge story that lies behind that has been completely ignored by the mainstream media because it's inconvenient. And when you actually look at the work that Aaron Mate, for a start, but Grey Zone in general do in trying to bring us, we the people, the truth about what's actually going on in our world, to listen to that garbage and disgusting and foul-mouthed, I have to say. That young lady, well, I hesitate to call her a young lady because she's clearly not in the prime of youth, but that's neither here nor there. But the fact is, how dare she pontificate on some tin pot fucking show like the Fabulous Young Turks or whatever they call themselves? Well, who the fuck are they? I mean, to claim that she knows that Bashar Assad made a chemical attack to kill his own children or the children of his people is beyond condemnable. Is that a word?
I think so.
Yes.
I shouldn't really be expending any breath on it because it's so pitiful and pathetic. I am not going to waste my borrow on whatever the young fucks are because that was disgusting.
Yeah.
And I've heard bad things about them for a long time, but they purport to be thinking young people who have an alternative. They're not.
Yeah,
they are the status quo bolstering what the great American empire believes, and obviously they're great supporters of regime change in Syria.
He was very kind. He was very nice. Very well spoken.
You put
the young fat fucks they are. I should write a song about them and what they eat.
Sure, yeah.
Fucking stupid fat prick. It's just as long
I'm sorry, I had to hear that again. That was fucking. I freaking love it. He's right, okay, because they're regurgitating the same talking points. So again, what is the point of watching them now? So Ana Kasparian, I couldn't even see this because she's blocked me, right? But my friend showed me. And Katie Halper said something, and so then she went back and said, hey, he's reporting glowingly. She doubled down about Assad in Syria right now. He has admitted himself to receiving financial awards from pro-Assad groups and working with Russian-backed media to leak personal info on anti-Assad activists. I might curse a lot, but I also read a lot. Try it. So again, she doubled down, right? And Max Blumenthal tweeted her and said, "Hey, her neo-McCarthyite lies aside, I see no evidence that Anna Kasparian reads a lot." And so this is just, I just had to put that in there because she, instead of saying, hey, I shouldn't have said these things without evidence, blah, 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 she doubled down and still maintained her position as Assad is a dictator. Like, come on, guys. Come on. And if anybody still watches TYT to this point, I have a hard time taking you seriously.
She should have just shut up, right? That's the thing. Just shut up. I mean, obviously she can't go the other way, fam, because she's paid to spew these points. And everybody has to get that through their head. The money they took and where they've gone from that point, you can't deny it. You know, they're in the same camp of these people who are pro-NATO, pro-CIA, regime change globalists, and that's who's paying them. And all of them over there, whether it be Cenk, Anna, Idarola, they suck. And their whole narrative is just terrible. And I have to agree with you, fam. I don't even know who watches TYT anymore.
Yeah.
But I will still put a challenge out there. If he wants to do a celebrity boxing match, me and Cenk, I'll take him on.
I'll
put the gloves on.
Steve moderate.
In the ring. I want to go celebrity boxing, me and Cenk. You know what I'm saying? We'll do it for charity. Right? We'll do it for the children of Syria.
I will box Anna for charity. Oh yeah, I would absolutely love to do it. Steve, make it happen.
Yeah, there you go. You have a night. The Convo Couch versus and Johnny, you can take on Idarola. He's got height on you, but you got size and strength.
Absolutely. So really what I wanted to get to here is the actual point of this whole conversation is that Syria, in spite of the adversity, in spite of the sanctions, in spite of the attempt of the U.S. to manipulate everything, like, this is an unfair election. Ha, ha, ha. Look in your own backyard, dumbasses.
No shit.
The Syrian election happened and Bashar al-Assad triumphed. He won. He was elected for 4th term as president after winning 95.1% of the vote. Leaders in the West said that the election lacked international monitoring and violated UN resolutions for a fair vote. Can we get international monitoring and UN resolutions for our elections?
What's your proof? Your proof?
Please? What's your proof, by the way?
I
haven't seen any evidence.
Where's the evidence?
So 78.6% of eligible voters cast their ballot. Okay. And so this whole article just goes on to talk about the 10-year conflict and how he has been questioned and all of that. But I just wanted you guys to see those numbers. 78.6% of eligible voters.
Yeah.
That's insane to me. That doesn't happen here. We don't have that, but you saw in Vanessa Beeley, and we're going to go over some of these pictures, how many people were out in the streets and were out to vote. They do it as it's like a festival for them to go vote. Like, it's like a happy thing, right? And so we can see right here in the next one that Johnny's playing, the people out in the streets. She says, the party begins. Syria has spoken. The West is humiliated. Multi-billion-dollar war. #fail. Economic terrorism. #fail. Media terrorism. #fail. F you, imperialist cabal. You lost. Syria is the red line. And here's where she's coming from. Vanessa has been in the region. He has seen the harm that these groups funded by the West. Have done to innocent people. She has seen what the sanctions have done to innocent people. And all Syrians wanted to do was regain control and authority over their country.
Yep.
And that is a victory for them, that the West was pushed aside in spite of every attempt to push a coup. And that's why Syrians are celebrating. And we have zero right to say anything against Syria, right? And this is it. This is the presidential election. Crowds were gathering. People didn't sleep. They were just outside celebrating their actual democracy at play, which the United States calls a fake election. But that's,
Yeah. Where's their proof, fam? And, we've done so many shows on this. We've had Mark Sloboda talk about this years ago. We've been following Syria. We know what's going on. It's Western intervention. It's about Israel right now, wanting a gas line, wanting a different regime in there that they can control. Enough is enough. How do people still regurgitate these old school talking points that Anna and Chunk just repeated and stuff like that? Okay, it's our intervention. What happened to you people? Hashtag TYT, hashtag fail.
Hashtag, look, it's Assad. The people chose Assad. Overwhelmingly so, whether you think those results aren't fair. And let me tell you, I have zero reason to believe those results aren't real. Because from every single media that is, West Asian media of the region, they constantly talk about how Bashar al-Assad is supported by the vast majority of his people, almost to a point where they have, images of him in their cars and everywhere. They really revere him because they feel that he stood up to the West, that he stood up to the Western Empire in spite of the things he may have done, the things his father may have done. They feel like he stood up to the boot of the U.S. Empire, and that is going to push a certain kind of admiration for this man. So I have zero reason to believe that the elections were not fair at all. We saw what Germany was trying to do by closing the embassies. We saw what the West was trying to do by putting distrust in the election, but they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it, no matter how hard they try, and that's why it's
still
a victory.
Get bombed by Israel on a regular basis too. By the way,
still.
Yeah. And Lukashenko has somewhat I wouldn't say the same support as Assad does, because Assad has overwhelming support, but Lukashenko has a big support in his group too as well. Because once again, you see these people, these leaders, stand up to the West and say, "Hey, we're not going to do what you're told." So therefore, they gather a lot of support from people who like that, because people aren't dumb. They've been living in these countries for a long time. They know who drops the missiles and the bombs, and they understand what's going on. So when a person like Assad stands up against them, you know what I'm saying? Not to say that Assad's family doesn't have a background
right.
whatever, but it doesn't make a difference. This is these people's choice. The Syrians should be able to determine who their leaders are. They should have the right to do that. If we're so keen on democracy, then we should stay the fuck out.
And if people want to get rid of Assad, they will get rid of him. That's their jurisdiction.
Exactly.
That's their prerogative. That is not for us to interfere.
Exactly.
And so Eva Bartlett was also there, and she posted profile pic, watching over partying Syrians in Mayad Square, celebrating their presidential elections, their sovereignty, and midnight, the election results. After 10 years of West and co-war on Syria, there was a momentous occasion I was thrilled to witness. And that's amazing to see that. That's why I'm going to Peru, because I want to see what exactly happens. Is the U.S. empire going to win? Is Peru going to be more independent? It's always that fight against the West, unfortunately. And we're lucky that we have people like Eva Bartlett and Vanessa Beeley that have been in the region and that we have interviewed before. And of course I would love to have them again. They're a wealth of knowledge. Yeah. And, Marwa Osman, who I also interviewed, they were excited, but also they were, talking about how the U.S. was trying to paint this narrative. And they did tell me, Marwa also said, though, but they're not, the Syrians are going to do what the Syrians are going to do. And they did. And they showed up and they didn't allow themselves to be deterred. Victory for Syria. I'm getting called an Assadist and the whole saying, I don't want you touching elections in Peru because you support a brutal dictator. And you're saying, somebody on Twitter, I support people having jurisdiction over who their leaders are. We don't have jurisdiction over who our leaders are here in America. So I'm glad that a country that we consider a third world country that we sanction has more jurisdiction over picking their leader than we do, because we don't have that here. No matter how many times you guys want to pretend and do the whole fucking show of, let's elect more progressives, it doesn't it's not real. We don't have fair elections. I know that here. We know that here. So I'm happy to see people have fair elections in other countries. I hope the United States eventually gets there.
Yeah, no shit. Ditto, that's all I got to say on that.